Okay everyone, welcome back to the Goonerverse. This will be quite an unfiltered video, not a lot of editing, not a lot of graphics, if any. I just want to talk to you very directly about my thoughts on the weekend, the criticism that Michael Oliver received, looking back at, what is the line? How far can you go? I think we need to have a discussion about that. We also need to offer solutions on the refereeing front. It can't all just be complaining, which we're right to do. But again, what's that line? And of course, there's a player who's looking like he's going to sign for Arsenal, Sverre Nypan, the 18-year-old midfielder, two-footed Norwegian. Excited about this one, actually, a bit more than I thought I would be. I'll explain why in the second part of this video. But I want to fly into this statement that came out from the PGMOL and just as unfiltered as possible, like I said, just chat about my thoughts on it all, because I have a few. I've been quite reflective across my Sunday. This is what they had to say. We are appalled by the threats and abuse directed at Michael Oliver following Wolves Arsenal. No official should be subject to any form of abuse, let alone the abhorrent attacks aimed at Michael and his family over the last 24 hours. The police are aware and a number of investigations have commenced. We're supporting Michael and all those affected and are determined to tackle this unacceptable behaviour. Sadly, it's not the first time that people have dealt with threats. We will continue to support all investigations. Hit the pause button if you want to read that fully, but I've just sort of skimmed through that. Look, don't take my skimming through that as not taking it seriously. I have seen what football social media can be like. Do I believe that he received some sort of abuse and that his family were subject to abuse and threats, perhaps death threats? Absolutely. I say that because some people don't. Some people think this is a pure deflection tactic from the PGMOL, saying that they can't find Michael Oliver's social media anywhere or whatever. Look, regardless of that, I do believe he has been subject to, yes, some probably vile things being said about him, some abuse, for sure crossing the line. Now that's unacceptable. Now if you are someone who has crossed that line, and I mean quite clearly crossed that line, you're watching this video, my message is do better. It's do better. But it's also a message that I don't really want to send, but I want to put out there and ask to people that perhaps don't know if they've crossed that line. I think this is a question I want to ask. And we've got to talk about this statement and why there's this kind of war between fans and the PGMOL and everything, and I've got quite a few thoughts on that. But what is abuse? I mean, I've really, like I said, I've been in quite a reflective mood across my Sunday thinking about it all. And what did I say about Michael Oliver? I'm not proud of all of it, but I called him a clown. I called the PGMOL a clown. I called him one of the worst referees I've had the displeasure of watching. I used the F word, speaking about him. I don't think anything I said was abusive, but did it cross the line? Could I word it better? For sure. Do I have a responsibility when I'm talking about these things to try and keep my cool and speak as calmly as possible? Maybe. I don't think the term clown is particularly offensive. I think I'm quite clearly making the point of that it's a joke, the way some decisions have gone for us and the standard of officiating in this league. But some might say that is too far. And listen, I'm open to that conversation. I'm the type of person that I get 2-3 negative comments in a YouTube video. I don't have the thickest of skin. Sometimes that can bother me. So I'm always willing to ask that. Could I be better? Could we all be better? Even in our criticism, even if we have every right to be annoyed, do we still need to maintain a way of delivering that? So I want to put that out there. I think we should always be asking ourselves this. I do this when I'm criticising Arsenal players, and people in the comments of the Forever Arsenal videos have been saying to me, James, stop. Basically stop padding my answers, stop trying to be too nice, it's really boring, whatever. But I will, because I'm talking about people who have other things going on in their lives. You never know what's going on in Ødegaard's life, in Kai Havertz's life, players that have been particularly criticised. So I'll always try and deliver things in the best way possible. Should I be doing that for officials and PGMOL? But here's a really, really big difference, and here's why I think it's got so venomous between fans and the referee and governing body. We're in this situation where I think as fans, we feel both gaslit and totally ignored, which is an incredible thing to feel both at the same time, but I think we do. And what I mean by that is we see things that are quite clear to us and some pundits and other football players, but we'll constantly be told, well, this is the law, well, this is the rule, well, this is why something happened, and we just have to accept it. But we also feel ignored because nothing's ever done about this. Nothing, when a referee performs appallingly and it has really big effects on other clubs, sometimes you can't just think about it from the Arsenal perspective. All clubs in the Premier League are affected in this way, and they can have another knock-on effect in another way. There's never a consequence, never more than, time in the Championship for a week, maybe. And so we feel ignored to a degree. And then I think we feel that some of the best pundits in the game aren't always holding the officials accountable in the way they should when they get the chance to speak to a Howard Webb, when they get the chance to speak on a decision and actually really internalize why it's important, why it was a bad mistake, and why it's important that we don't just put this down as an error. Alex from Different Knock said it perfectly. Michael Oliver didn't just get three decisions wrong for us. Well, it was way more than that. He made three precedent-setting decisions with the double yellow card for Martinelli at Wolves, with the red card for Trossard at the Etihad, and with this decision for Lewis Skelly. Ones I've never seen before, but now that must be the standard. And when you see that, and you see the things that Oliver has done in terms of the non-Kovacic red card and plenty other decisions over the years, you can't help but feel like it's personal. Now, I've said this a million times, but one more time. I don't believe in corruption. I don't think there's money being paid around. I don't think that he is told to do this, that, or the other. But do I believe he dislikes us? Yeah. I believe he doesn't like us. Probably doesn't like Mikel Arteta. Probably doesn't like Leandro Trossard for saying, what did he say the other day? He was basically slagging him off to his face, wasn't he? Saying, he's telling a Wolves player that he got booked for kicking the ball away, and Michael Oliver, I think, overheard it. So he probably doesn't really like us. But we don't like him, and that's fine. I think that isn't abusive. That can be that way. But the problem is, I am personally starting to feel like it's affecting the way he's officiating Arsenal games. I'm sorry. I do. And it's taken me so long to get to this point. But I can't help but feel that way. And when you feel that way, it then feels personal. Therefore, the criticism becomes more personal. Therefore, I am that touch more cutting when I'm, talking about the PGMOL and Michael Oliver, I forgot his name. I've been saying it all weekend. And I think that's why, when you've got the lack of accountability in the PGMOL, which some will say the statement is a bit of, and I hear that totally, when you've got a lack of accountability, and then you've got decisions of this nature relentlessly happening against your own team, it's very difficult not to feel like you're just being ignored, and you need to bang harder on the window to be heard. So I think while fans need to do better if they are being abusive and critical, I think the PGMOL, and I think mainstream broadcasters too, need to acknowledge their part to play in this, because we're constantly wound up by Dermot on Sky Sports giving us nonsense reasons for why the referee was always right. I think he probably disagrees with genuinely 0.2% of the decisions that referees make that are supposedly controversial. I'm not even joking. Honestly, that's probably the number. Yet we're just told we have to get on with it. And then this clip does the round, and Howard Webb will come in and tell us, well, no choice on the red cards, blah, blah, blah. That's the problem. If you kick the ball away, second yellow, nothing we could do. Yet we've never seen that rule applied ever since. And we've seen examples of players doing this on yellow cards. I can think of Szoboszlai, I can think of Gomez, and there was another one the other day too. So that's going on. But at the same time, Michael Oliver didn't want to ruin the Arsenal-Man City game by sending Kovacic off unless he really has to. Well, we're told both things. And there's no one who actually does get themselves in front of Howard Webb when he's either on the overlap or whether he's on Sky Sports on their, Ref Watch show, whatever it might be. There is no one actually putting that to them and going, hold on, but you said that referees don't really want to ruin the game if they don't have to. So why was he happy to do this for such a, so you're telling me that Trossard was time wasting. It wasn't definitely a pass out to Martinelli. He maybe couldn't think in less than 1 second, may I say. For sure, and you're happy to ruin the game. These are the questions that aren't being asked. So, fans are knocking on the door louder. And when they're doing that, you're going closer to that line. What's acceptable, what's not. One more time for the people at the back. I don't condone abuse. Death threats, that is disgusting. Do better. PGMOL, though, you have to look at why people feel this way. And yes, it's your incompetence. They are not good at their jobs, the referees. I stand by that. I'm sorry, I do. Not in this country. But the way the PGMOL react to these moments is only making it worse. And now there feels like there's this big war between fans because I don't know any group of fans across any of the 20 Premier League clubs that is happy with the standard of officiating that we are subject to every week. Every week there's something to talk about. So those 4 Arsenal red cards, Saliba on the touchline, Rice and Trossard for kicking a ball away, Lewis Skelly for a somewhat cynical trip, all off. Bruno Guimaraes, João Pedro, absolutely fine. Elbow who you like, whether you catch them or not. We won't give reds. It's a precedent they've set, and they wonder why we get so angry about it. There's a line, like I said. But if that wasn't enough, just judging their decision making, you then see things like the David Coote stuff. And you go, he was sacked, but that was it. There was no investigation into the PGMOL. No one's looking at them. No one is actually asking how the hell this was allowed to happen. You look at Mike Dean saying that he didn't send his mate over to the monitor when Cucurella had his hair pulled because he was having a tough game. Total lack of professionalism. You see referees getting paid money to referee games abroad. And I think the slap on the wrist, they were told they can't do it again, that's it. But the fact that it was ever allowed, there is a clear lack of professionalism in the PGMOL. And there is a clear lack of accountability too. That is why we're at this level. So fans do better. But you actually want to stop this problem? If you actually want to simmer it down and get to a place where fans can respect referees and referees can, to a degree, I know that will always, that's wishful thinking, but at least have it better than it is today. And referees can enjoy the job they do more, and players and managers can actually go about the game feeling like, yeah, they're not out to get us, they might make mistakes, and that's human, that's normal. If we want to get closer, I don't want to be perfect, we want to get closer to that, accountability has to be on all sides, in particular the PGMOL, in my opinion. Those are my reflective thoughts. One more time, don't abuse Michael Oliver or referees. What is that line? It's a difficult one, and I've been wondering about myself. But PGMOL need to do more. Now, just referring to my notes, I don't think there's anything else I want to say on it other than I do want to give a few solutions because it's easy for me to complain. So I'm going to rattle a few off really quickly before we talk about Sverre Nypan. Firstly, I think refs need to, unless they're 100% sure about something, they need to referee knowing there's a VAR safety net. If you think it's a red but you're not 100% sure, give the yellow. If you're not sure if it's a pen, don't give it. VAR will come in and help. That needs to be an instant change. Like the offsides. You know, when they don't put the flag up until either the move's died down or they've kind of let the move play on to see if they're going to score. They do that because they know VAR can fix it after. We need that in general, moment-to-moment officiating. We need sin bins because while I don't think the Lewis Skelly challenge is a red card, I fundamentally don't. I think I think a sin bin is a good punishment for players who make no attempt to win the ball, whether it's a shirt pull, whether it's a deliberate trip. If you've made no attempt to win the ball, I think you should take 10-15 minutes off the pitch. I'm okay with that rule. Thirdly, challenges. If you do want to get to a point where the game's more fluid, let there be challenges for teams so that they can come in and ask for decisions to be reviewed. Therefore, we don't have to have this constant checking and stopping of the game. Final thing is that we need VAR-specific officials. This happens across American sports. We need people who are in the TV room, who are experts at being the VAR with the TVs in front of them, who have no connection to a Michael Oliver and the referees on the pitch because they're very different jobs. It's a very different job. To be skilled in both is difficult, I'll give them that. And what the VAR need to do is have no connection to Michael Oliver to a point where they don't mind telling him he's wrong. Because a great point was made, and I think it was Henry Winter was asking Keith Hackett on TalkSport, is there a sense that less senior referees are actually a bit unsure about telling Michael Oliver he's wrong because he's considered the top ref in English football? Maybe. So that divide needs to be there. Those are 4 solutions. So I'm not just coming here to complain. I've brought solutions, but something needs to be done. We'll leave the referee stuff there. I'd love to know your thoughts on all that. Where's the line? What crosses it? And ultimately, how do you get to a point where, apart from just fans being better with their phones, difficult to achieve, you're asking for perfection and the world's not perfect out there. But my word, it needs to be better, and it's discussing those who are like that. However, at the risk of repeating myself the 5th time, I'm not asking the PGMOL and the referees to be perfect, but my word, this is far below any standard I think we should ever be willing to accept. And we need to understand what is causing this level of discussion. Now, on Sverre Nypan, I'm excited about this deal. I am. I'll tell you why I am. Because I don't think it's got anything to do with the Arsenal forward search. If I felt this was Arsenal's solution to getting bodies in, I would feel like this is a bit of a cop-out and we need to be, the priorities are all over the place. But I don't think they are linked at all. The reason I'm excited about this deal is because I actually think this is both a profile and a fit and a gap in the squad that really needs addressing, and I'm quite glad that Arsenal are addressing it this window. Now, the only drawback is he's 18 years old. At 18 years old, the expectation to come in and play a real big part is quite low. But when Neri and Lewis Skelly have shown us this season, if the talent is there, the talent is there, Mikel Arteta will trust them. He started both against Wolves. Now, yes, injuries might have forced that to a degree, but that's not the point. He still went with both. So, if Nypan is the player we think he is, and what do we know? What does YouTube comps tell me, and what have I sort of read up about him a bit? He's a 8/10. He's both footed. He can play as like a third midfielder with a bit of creativity. He can play a bit deeper. He can also advance and go beyond into the final third, make things happen there. I've seen some great goals he's scored. He's clearly a very skillful player. He reminds me of, do you know what, let me not throw big names out there. Someone said, and this actually isn't my observation, someone said on Twitter, he's like a Cruz type midfielder, which is interesting. I'll watch more of him and see what they mean by that. But I think if you're talking that kind of profile, you're talking a creator who could do it from 6, who could do it from 8, who could do it from 10, who could basically be in any one of the phases of midfield and have an impact in some way. Now, I think Ødegaard is a lot of that, but I think the way you can allow Ødegaard to be what he is in this current Arsenal team, but take some of the weight off him creatively, is to have almost a second Ødegaard. You don't necessarily need a, lung-busting box-to-box, super powerful midfielder, who's got real great final third efficiency, high creation, high chance creation, lots of shots on goal. Although you don't necessarily need that if you kind of got the balance of creativity across both, with a Partey, with a Rice, with a Jorginho at the 6. I'd want a Rice there long term, but like I said, Nypan's probably not going to be a first teamer, but the David Ornstein reports have said that he'd be coming in to play a part in the squad immediately. He wouldn't be going on loan, which is what Man City are supposedly looking at doing if they do sign us, according to Fabrizio Romano. So we're in this position where we could be bringing him in, because at the moment we've only got Ødegaard, Waneri, Partey, Jorginho, Rice, Mourinho as our 6 midfielders for 3 positions. But Waneri, I think, is long-term more of a forward. And being a left-footer too, he'll play in a very similar way to Ødegaard, though I think he is more of a forward, and I think he's definitely more lethal in the final third, or certainly will be long-term. Nypan might be that player that's a really good balance between, or is the kind of player that can come in and actually allow for an Ødegaard and a Waneri and him to all be in the squad and complement each other quite nicely. So I'm excited about this. I am, especially if he's going to come in and play a part immediately. I think we need this kind of player, and I would have loved a 22, 23, 24-year-old to come in, be ready-made, and do the job now. Starting with Ødegaard, Rice, and there we go. Midfield has gone up a level. But I think Rice is seen as a long-term box-to-box. Partey has been in good form. Jorginho's played well. Mourinho, we still need to get more out of him. So this is a case of him being potentially more of a backup to Ødegaard, which I'm happy for, because Ødegaard hasn't had a great season. He's had injuries, had illness. And if he's not playing Waneri, he's got to play there, but already there's no one close to Saka in profile. And I think Waneri is better off spending the next 2 years playing in midfield sometimes, but ultimately being actually a backup to Saka over the coming years as he develops and kind of gets more and more minutes every year, and hopefully we can rest Saka more. I think that's a nice balance for the squad personally. So I'm excited about this one. I am. I'm no expert on the player. I'll try and actually get into someone who is. I think that'd be quite good to do on the channel. But I think this is Arsenal adding a type of player we really need. Type of player, whether he's the exact one now or might be in a year or two. The point is Arsenal are going and securing one of the best midfield talents in Europe. So that can only be a good thing. But the fact that there's a chance he even contributes a little bit this season, I think that's a good thing too. We need to think about the long term as much as we have to think about the now. So yeah, this is looking good. David Ornstein seems pretty confident that this deal is going to happen. Let's hope it gets done. Everyone, big thank you for tuning in. 20 minutes of chatting away there, but I just wanted to go through all that. I asked about 5-6 times, so apologies for repeating myself, but everything I said on Michael Oliver and the PGMOL, really want to get that message across. Let me know. And then Sverre Nypan, if you are a Norwegian fan, or if you've been watching Rosenborg and his team, if you know a lot about the player, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to learn more, and I'm sure others would too. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and I'll see you all very soon. Many thanks.